Dear students, welcome you all to Shirdi Sai Junior College English classes. Today's lesson is for class 12 students from State Board Academy. Today's lesson has been taken from the book of poetry, which is the second poem, The Tables Turned. This poem was written by William Wordsworth. Before I start explaining this poem, let me tell you some important points about the poet William Wordsworth. The poet was born on 7th April 1770 at Cocomouth village that can be located in Cumberland in England. His father was John Wordsworth, who was an attorney at law, and his mother name was Annie Wordsworth. When William Wordsworth was at the age of 8, he lost his mother. After the death of his mother, he was sent to the grammar school. Later, when he was at the age of 14, he lost his father. After the death of his father, he was kept under the guardianship of some of his uncles. So these two incidents made him to be completely sad and somewhat moody and violent-tempered. So later, he overcame the death of his mother and father, continued his studies. Finally, in the year 1791, he completed his graduation on Bachelor of Arts and received his certificate from St. John's College, which was affiliated to Cambridge University. Later in the year 1791, he started doing fellowship with St. Coleridge. Their friendship has been cemented. So later in the year 1798, William Wordsworth and Coleridge collaborated on and published some of the lyrical ballads. It has been said that there were almost 23 lyrical ballads published by both of these two. Among those 23, the first 4 ballads were written by Coleridge, and the next 19 lyrical ballads were written by William Wordsworth. One among those, the last among those is Tintern Abbey. So that's what the poem, a ballad which was written by William Wordsworth. Let me tell you about ballad here. Here ballad is nothing but a long poem, which is also called as a folk song. So it conveys a story. It has a special vice verse and a rhyming scheme. The rhyming scheme of the ballad is ABAB. So it is contained with the quatrains. So each quatrain you can find the rhyming scheme with the ABAB. Here the quatrain is nothing but 4 lines. And you can also find a ballad with another rhyming scheme which is called ABCB. Okay, so here The Tables Turned was a ballad which was written by William Wordsworth. So it is one among those 19 ballads which were written by William Wordsworth. After the publication of these lyrical ballads, William Wordsworth's literary career has been started. In the year 1798, William Wordsworth started his romantic movement in English literature. So in such a way, his literary career had been started in his life from the year 1798, after the publication of those lyrical ballads. So here, William Wordsworth has been considered as the world's nature poet. Okay, and his love and affection towards nature can be seen in all of his writings, especially in a poem, I Wandered Lonely as a Cloud. You can see his love and affection towards the nature. Not only in this poem, Tables Turned, you can also feel his love and affection towards nature in almost of all his writings. Along with these, some other writings also have been written by him. Those are intimations of immortality, resolution and independence, the solitary reaper, the world is too much with us, and character of the warrior. So all of these writings can be seen, which were written by William Wordsworth. Let us move to the poem, The Tables Turned. So here in this poem, The Tables Turned, William Wordsworth tries to speak to his one of his well-known persons, nothing but his friend. The poem Tables Turned was first published in the year 1798 by William Wordsworth. This poem is dedicated to his friend, and here his friend is asked to leave his books, and he has been informed the nature is the one which has great knowledge and that gives peace and happiness and everything that people require. Let us move to the poem, Up, up, my friend, and fit your books. Surely you'll grow double. Up, up, my friend, and clear your looks. Why all this toil and trouble? Here he speaks to his friend and asks his friend to leave his books. So try to understand this stanza from the first line itself. Here he gives his instruction to his friend. That can be seen in the first line. What was the instruction given to him? Up, up, my friend, and fit your books. So here he asked his friend to leave his books. Otherwise, he would grow double. So if he doesn't leave his books, he'll grow double. That's what actually has been conveyed by William Wordsworth to his friend. Okay. The third line, if you try to understand, here again he passes the same instructions. Up, up, my friend, clear your looks. Here he means to say, open your eyes. So try to understand the inner meaning of these lines. In the third line, you can find, again, the poet is giving his instruction to his friend, up, up, my friend, and clear your looks, which is nothing but try to know the fact and the truth. According to William Wordsworth, his friend thinks that knowledge is possible by reading books. But according to William Wordsworth, knowledge and the wisdom is possible by observing the nature but not reading the books. That is the reason why he asked his friend to open his eyes and try to find the truth. Finally, what has been conveyed here? Why all this toil and trouble? Why all these struggles and troubles? So according to William Wordsworth, there are struggles in the reading books. Try to understand the inner meaning of this stanza. You might have remembered what Francis Bacon says in his Off Studies. According to Francis Bacon, there are 3 disadvantages of studies. So try to understand here the intention of the William Wordsworth. Even if you try to remember the words which were said by Francis Bacon in his Off Studies, he says that there are 3 disadvantages of studies. Studying too much of books may make man lazy, may also make man to show off their learnings. Studying too much of books may develop negative tendencies in them, and those tendencies will separate studies from the practical life experiences. So these are the 3 disadvantages emphasized by Francis Bacon. Even here also, William Wordsworth says very clearly, observing his friend who is studying too much, he thought that he would grow double, and he thought that there are troubles and struggles in the reading books because he is studying too much. And at the same time, he feels and he expected that his friend should leave all those books and come along with him. Let us move to the next stanza. The sun above the mountain's head, a freshening lustre mellow, through all the long green fields has spread his first sweet evening yellow. Listen to me effectively. In the second stanza, he recites the precious time of the day in which the action of the poem is set. Here, he speaks about the sun which is there high above the mountains. It is shining and soft and pleasant. It has spread through all the long green fields. Everywhere you can see the brightness of the sun. In such a way, it has spread each and every part that is visible upon the earth. He also said about his first sweet evening is yellow. Here, the poet asks his friend to come into the light of the world. Try to understand the sun is the light of the world. It is the one which gives a complete nourishment to each and every creature upon the earth. Without the sun, there won't be any creature upon the earth. Here the poet feels his friend reading books continuously. So reading too much of books always makes man lazy and makes man to show off the learning and create some kind of negative tendencies in them. Hence, his friend is asked to come into the light of the world so that he can observe the light of the world and try to learn the importance of the timings. There are a lot of things to learn by observing even sun. So here in the second stanza, from the second line, freshening lustre is nothing but shining, mellow is nothing but the soft and pleasant. And he says very clearly to his friend to come into the light of the world and observe the brightness of the sun that has spread through the long green fields. Everywhere it has spread. And without it, there won't be any nourishment. There won't be any creature upon the earth. That is what actually has been conveyed to him. Okay? And great learnings are actually possible by observing even the sun also. That you must understand. So let us move to the next stanza. Books, 'tis a dull and endless strife. Come hear the woodland linnet. How sweet is music on my life. There's more of wisdom in it. Yeah. So in the third stanza, he conveys very clearly, books has dullness, continuous conflicts and disturbances. Once come out and try to hear the woodland linnet, a bird which sings beautifully. On my life is nothing but sphere on me. So, according to the poet, even the woodland linnet, even the birds also are the part of the nature. A lot of things can be learned by observing even the birds also. Here, the woodland linnet or any other bird, they never read any kind of books, but they acquire great knowledge and wisdom. So, in order to learn and acquire knowledge, reading books continuously is not good. That is the reason why he asked his friend to leave the books and come into the world to observe the nature. He asked his friend to see and hear the woodland linnet. There is a great wisdom in the bird even too. So that's what actually has been conveyed here by the poet to his friend. So let us move to the next stanza. And hark how blithe the throstle sings. He too is no mean creature. Come forth into the light of things. Let nature be your teacher. Yeah, here he speaks about another bird, which is nothing but a throstle. Here, throstle sings very beautifully, and it has a great wisdom that can be taught to everybody. He means to say, even throstle is as equal to as preacher. However, a preacher preaches the spiritual education to the people and great wisdom to the people. In such a way, a bird throstle also preaches great wisdom, a spiritual education which is highly required to everybody upon the earth. So that you must understand. So finally he invites his friend, yeah, come forward into the light of the things. Let nature be your teacher. So he asks his friend to accept nature as his great teacher. because it is fact. Nature is the one which has everything that people require. So whatever is required to everybody, every creature upon the earth, that can be given, that is found in the nature. So not only the wealth, even a great education is also possible with the nature. That is the reason why he asked his friend to come into the light of the world and treat nature as a great teacher. So let us move to the next stanza. She has a world of ready wealth, our minds and hearts to bless, spontaneous wisdom breathed by health, truth breathed by cheerfulness. So try to understand these words here. Who does she here? She refers to the nature. So according to the poet, nature has everything. It is nothing but a great wealth which is available in the nature. And that wealth which is highly essential and required to bless our health and our minds. So whatever is essential for us to be blessed mentally and physically, that is available in the nature. That's what you must understand. So here, the spontaneous wisdom and great health is possible with the nature, and that is what the truth which is shared among the people by the nature very cheerfully and happily. That's what actually you must understand here. I hope you understood what I'm telling. So let us move to the next stanza. One impulse from a vernal wood may teach you more of man, of moral, evil and of good than all the sages can. So try to understand the words from this stanza. So here, the impulse is nothing but a sudden strong wish. Vernal wood is nothing but a spring season. Sages means the wise man. So here he says very clearly, once if you observe and study the spring season, so that you can understand how effectively the spring can teach you. So according to the poet, the season of spring teaches the people to know the differences between the evil and as well as good. That even which is highly impossible to be taught by even the wise men like sages also. So such kind of great teachings are completely possible by observing the nature. That's what actually he thought of telling here. So let me move to the next stanza. Sweet is the law which nature brings, a meddling intellect misshapes the beauteous forms of things, we mutter to dissect. Yeah, so try to understand the meanings of the hard words in this stanza. So here the lore is nothing but traditional knowledge and stories about a subject. So meddling is nothing but involvement in something that doesn't concern you. So here we mutter to dissect is nothing but to study. So try to understand the inner meaning of this stanza. What has been said here? So whatever the knowledge is highly essential for everybody upon the earth is possible by the nature. But the nature which is there in us, which always pushes you to involve in something which is not actually concerned to you, to misshape the beauteous forms of the nature. So finally, we mutter the nature are natural plants, which are the creatures which are there to study something. See here, the great knowledge is possible with the nature, but unfortunately, that nature is completely spoiled by the people and their mindset. So the people are trying to spoil the nature, and whatever the beauteous forms are there, and those are completely misshaped by the people and their experiments. So because of the experimentation of science and technology, lot of naturalistic things are completely spoiled by the meddling intellect which is there in the people. So here they thought of inventing something, but they are unable to think that they are spoiling the entire nature. So if it is done, what would happen? The nature would be spoiled. In future, nature spoils everybody. So that you must understand. So here the nature is very important. It has to be protected by the people continuously. But due to having the meddling intellect which is there in the people, the beauteous forms of the nature whichever are there, they are completely misshaped. Because of that only, so a lot of unusual things are actually occurring in the nature. So let us move to the next stanza. Enough of science and of art. close up those barren leaves, come forth and bring with you a heart that watches and receives. Finally, he says his friend to close the barren leaves. Barren leaves are nothing but here the books. And finally, he confirmed whatever happened under the science and technology, so that is enough. So it is better to stop everything, the experimentation of science and technology or whatever is being done under the technology. Because of that, the nature is completely spoiled. Soon, there won't be any creature upon the earth because the nature will disturb everybody. Understanding this, everybody must try to come forward and try to protect the nature, because the nature protects you one day. And he asked his friend to come along with him with having a beautiful heart which can receive and accept the nature and as his great teacher, so that he can learn everything that is required to him. According to the poet, great knowledge is possible and wisdom is possible. Even the peace and happiness which is highly essential for the people is also possible with the nature. Nature gives everything that we require. So whatever is highly essential for the people, that is given to the people by the nature. But here the problem is, most of the people are trying to satisfy the greed. As it is infinite, it cannot be satisfied. Okay, so because of that, due to having meddling intellect, they are trying to misshape the beauteous forms of the nature. And finally, the nature is completely disturbed. So it has to be rehabilitated. So hence he has given call to everybody, come and study the nature. So here in this poem, the central line of the poem is, let nature be your teacher. So everybody must treat nature as the great teacher. So then great learnings are possible, so that they can apply those learnings in their practical lives and make their lives beautiful. So that is what actually has been taught by William Wordsworth in this poem, The Tables Turned. Dear students, I hope you understood this lesson. Thank you very much. Have a good day.